Okay, everyone. Well, let's get started. Thank you all so much for joining us today, January 5th, for our All In for Advocacy virtual rally. My name is Jessie Wasson. I'm the Programs and Operations Manager for Inspire Washington, your state's cultural advocacy organization supporting nonprofit, science, heritage, and the arts, as well as the broad creative economy. All right, here we are. Inspire Washington acknowledges that we and our partners statewide are on the homelands of Native people who have lived in this region from time immemorial. We pay respect to their elders, past and present. We also acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land where all our cultural partners live and work. Currently, there are 42 tribes, 35 of which are federally recognized that share traditional homelands and waterways in what is now Washington state. Some of these are nations and confederacies that represents multiple tribes and bands. Inspire Washington expresses its deepest respect for and gratitude towards these original and current caretakers and culture bearers of the region. As a cultural sector, we acknowledge our responsibility to establish and maintain relationships with these tribes and Native peoples in support of tribal sovereignty and the inclusion of their voices in teaching art, heritage, natural science, and providing cultural programming. We pledge that our relationships will consist of mutual trust, respect, and reciprocity. Today, Inspire Washington is in King County, and we acknowledge that we are on the ancestral homelands of the Coast Salish people, specifically the first people of Seattle, the Duwamish people. Just to kind of give you a little overview of what we're going to be chatting about in this hour, we're going to make sure everyone is aware of what we are as Inspire Washington, and then we're going to dive right into the legislative session. We have a lot of friends and partners here today to provide lots of context and information regarding the upcoming legislative session that starts next week. And then we'll dive right into our individual partners' requests and let them talk you through it. Then we'll also talk about your role as an advocate in this session and what it is that you can do to support these important requests. And now I'd like to turn it over to Manny Kowalling, our Executive Director.
Thank you, Jessie. Hello, everybody. I'm really thrilled to see all of you here. Here we are. Happy New Year. I hope that you are looking towards the next year with enthusiasm and optimism, as well as just recognizing there's some really good and hard work that we can do together to ensure that your company, your communities have greater access to arts, science, and heritage programming. Here are a couple things that are on my mind today as I start to imagine all the great things that will happen over the next year. I am so grateful and inspired by our success. We have been incredibly successful as a statewide sector over the last couple of years. This last September marked my 5th year in this job, and I have seen a huge geologic shift in the amount of recognition that we get from the elected officials that distribute money and make decisions, as well as just concrete resources. From the significant funds, $50 million that were provided for the Working Washington 5 grant program, as well as the COVID recovery program administered by ArtsWA and the Department of Commerce. The tremendous successes with all of our partners, the funds that were given by the legislature to create the Tribal Affairs program, to create a new exhibit for our Washington State History Museum, and on and on. We are seeing more resources and just a firm belief that cultural programs matter to Washingtonians. And yet, what's also on my mind is that advocacy is ambitious and it is passionate and it is ongoing. Do we still have everything that we need to be able to provide these valuable programs to our community and for your business to fully recover? Do we have all the resources? No. And therefore, I look towards towards the legislative session as another opportunity to talk about the support that you need and the opportunities that we are not yet able to really invest in through cultural programming. So I'm optimistic. We also have had great success around the Cultural Access Program. We were thrilled when the legislature expanded the options for the Cultural Access Program by providing councilmanic authority. And already King County has taken a step forward to enact that. but it's not just about King County. It is about every one of our 39 counties having more resources. So I'm also looking at the upcoming year as an opportunity for us to be your partner if you're outside of King County, to figure out if your city, if your town, if your county is ready to develop funding at the local level. And of course, I'm looking to the legislative session as an opportunity for us to talk about the role that state government must play in providing these important resources to all of you, how it is still about state funding and state resources, and how your cultural programs deserve the same amount of support as the other areas of community life that get investment from our state government. So I guess what I'm saying is I'm looking at the next year as an opportunity for us to do big things. And I'm really excited to be working with all of you. And we're super grateful here in Inspire Washington to have had all the great successes we've had, and yet to still be able to have work we're going to roll up our sleeves on and take on together starting now here in 2024. I want to recognize that I have some board members in the room. So if you're Inspire Washington board member, raise your hand or put a little icon in. There you are, Molette. I see you there. Maybe we have some more. There's a lot of great people that make this incredible work of Inspire Washington happen every year. And I want to recognize them. And of course, nothing could happen at all without my great team, Jesse Wasson, as well as Madeline Dalton and Anna Tatelman, and our great lobbyists that work with us, Becky Bogard and David Foster and Sun Yang. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Manny. All right, that was a pretty good preview of kind of what we do as Inspire Washington. But if you're curious, this is our mission. We exist to serve every state community from Spokane to Seattle, from Kennewick to Kitsap, from Wenatchee to Whatcom, and right in your community. We serve all communities by supporting all of you, our cultural partners, and you are the ones that inspire Washington. We do a lot of things every day and year round, specifically cultural coalition and partnership building, like what we're doing right now, supporting all of you and bringing everyone together to share resources, share ideas, and share passions. Advocacy, of course, is one of the most important things that we do for the cultural sector by bringing advocates from every district across the state together to speak to their lawmakers and ensure their voice is heard around the requests and needs of their communities. Resource development is another big part of the work that we do, providing the tools and links and what emails and websites and all that kind of stuff that you guys need to do your work and to do it effectively. Education is another big part too of creating marketing toolkits and all sorts of things that makes your communications work easier. We at Inspire Washington, we support 3 buckets of work. The Inspire Washington tent is quite big and includes science and technology, which is nature conservancies, fish hatcheries, zoos, science innovation centers, and aquariums. Raise your virtual hand if you're from a science organization. I'm pretty sure I saw Mark from the fish hatchery. I know you're out there, yeah. The second bucket is heritage, which includes historical and cultural heritage sites, humanities, and the museums. I know we've got a lot of folks in the heritage field. Go ahead and raise your virtual hand. Awesome. Hi, Helen. Eric, awesome. Great to see you. And of course, the arts, which includes visual arts, literature, music, dance, theater, spoken word, film, etc. All right, arts folks, raise your virtual hands. Hi, Miranda, Sherry, Derek, I see you all. Awesome. I'm so glad you're all here because together as a coalition, we are stronger. Inspire Washington and our cultural sector has had a huge impact this past year. We've visited 25 cities and towns all across Washington state from May to September, meeting with lawmakers, listening to what you need, and creating an agenda and priorities that will benefit the state in the long run. We also promoted several sector-wide grants, either through the ArtsWAS grants, most recently through that $2 million. Thank you all advocates for pushing for that. We continue to advocate for more COVID relief funding and providing new opportunities for funding like the Cultural Access Program that Manny was talking about earlier. Also later, towards the end of this past summer, we did an awful lot of visits just specifically to meet with lawmakers to strengthen those relationships, because we know the key to getting things done in the legislature is often just having the relationships and having those like close bonds with lawmakers so they know who we are. So Manny and I especially spend a lot of time driving and crisscrossing the states, visiting with lawmakers, whether it's Representative Theringer out in Port Townsend or Representative Dye out in Uniontown, Washington, and everything in between.
Mhm.
I always have to include this slide just because it's so important that all of us as advocates know and understand how important we all are to Washington's economy. We represent 10.8% of the state's GDP, which is huge. It's one of the largest industries in the state. We support thousands of jobs and contribute billions of dollars to the state's economy. We never can forget this as advocates. All right, now I'm going to bring in David Foster, who's one of the lobbyists that works with us in the state session, and he's going to provide us just a little bit of overview of what to expect this year in the state session. David, are you still with us?
I am. Thank you, Jesse. Can you hear me?
Yes, thanks, David.
Good afternoon, everybody. Glad to be here today to touch base on the upcoming legislative session. I'm just going to give a fairly simple overview of what the legislators are looking at in this upcoming session, timeframes, etc. And then certainly, Jesse, Manny, you tell me otherwise. Happy to answer any questions about what we're talking about. So as you see on the chart down here, we are going into the supplemental year. That means it's a short session. It's the second year of the biennium. The session begins on January 8th and will end, assuming all goes well, on March 7th. So it's a 60-day legislative session. During that time, the legislature will grapple with the supplemental budget, effectively the second, working on the second year of the fiscal biennium, which runs from the fiscal years run from July 1 to June 30. So in this instance, it would be July 1, 2024 to June 30, 2025. And they're working off the governor's proposal that came out in mid-December. Generally, in supplemental budgets, the dollar amounts that we're talking about are much smaller than in the larger budget years. For instance, on the capital budget side, whereas maybe they're dealing with a $5 or $6 billion budget because it was so big in the 2023 session. Maybe what they have to play with is more like a couple of $100 million, and so requests are much smaller. Requests are still quite large. What's actually provided is much smaller in the supplemental year, and that's the same in the operating budget as well. More often than not, historically, they've tried to kind of nibble around the edges, if you will, work on maybe not new and certainly not large initiatives, but trying to take into account the revenue forecast, caseload forecast, meaning people who are using the services that the state provides, and trying to make adjustments to get through the rest of the fiscal year. So those are that's certainly the biggest piece. The budgets are always the biggest piece of the legislative session, and even in a short session, that is still the case. Some of the issues that the legislature will continue to work on, and I think some of these issues are going to be front and center for some time to come. Frankly, I don't think we're going to see any change. Comes to housing issues, zoning issues related to housing, trying to increase the housing supply for people that are currently in the state and in need of housing, and for those that are anticipated to be coming to the state over the next 20 years. And that ties in, of course, with the homelessness issue and behavioral health issues. So all of them are under one large umbrella. All of these issue areas are under one large umbrella, and the state continues to try to tackle them both individually, but also collectively. Another area that we're going to see, and I know these don't maybe necessarily tie directly into the arts and cultural and historical communities, but certainly they play a role in the state. And so I wanted to just make sure you all are aware of what's coming up. And that's on the transportation side of things. I'm sure you've seen articles saying, and have your own projects for that matter, where you've seen cost increases over the past couple of years. And transportation is certainly an area where we have very, very large projects, both from a financial standpoint and certainly from a construction standpoint. And we're seeing very large increases in those projects. So the legislature will be grappling with trying to fund projects already promised throughout the state and try to make sure those are funded and hopefully to the best of their ability brought in on time, or at least as close to on time as promised. And then another one that is a little bit new, and that is they're going to be looking at least. I don't know how much they'll actually deal with them, but what's called initiatives to the legislature. And there are 6 different initiatives that were filed and people were getting signatures for to try to repeal some things that have been done in the past couple of years. And what happens if they are validated by the Secretary of State's office, they go to the legislature can either pass the initiative in its current form. They can do nothing and it goes to the ballot in November of 2024, or they can actually put together a alternative approach, and then both items would go on the ballot. So what happens with those is to be determined. There are some related to the Carbon Climate Commitment Act issue. There's one related to police pursuits. There's one related to a new tax that went into effect a year or two ago. So there's a number of different competing interests, and if they are all certified, and I'm not sure that they have been, but if they're all certified one way or another, I think the population of the state, the voters of the state, will be dealing with them this coming November. So those are a few of the issues. The last one I will bring up, and you see at the bottom of the slide here, we've got 49 legislative districts. In each of those districts, there are 2 representatives and 1 senator. Currently, the Democrats control the House and the Senate, as well as the governor's office. What we will be seeing in 2024 is a pretty big election swing. And what I mean by that is we're going to have 4 open statewide seats, including the governor's office. I should say a minimum of 4. We don't know who else, what others will be doing. All of the representatives, so 98 representatives, all of those seats will be up for election, and people will run for re-election or retire or perhaps move on to and try to run for a different seat. And roughly half of the senators, half of the 49 senators, will be up for election as well. So we already know some senators, for instance, are running for some statewide offices. We know some members are running for an open congressional seat that we're going to have in this upcoming election. So I think there's going to be a lot of, I don't know that there'll be a lot of political jockeying in the sense of election related to the elections in the 24 legislature, but certainly after the session ends, we will certainly be, and once we see who files in May, there will be a lot of political activity through the end of this year. And that means some probably pretty big changes in 2025. So with that, I'm going to stop. That's again a fairly simple and relatively quick overview of the session. Turn it back to Jesse or see if there are any questions.
Great. Thanks so much, David. I think we'll save questions till the end.
Okay.
Unless folks want to put their questions in the chat, that's fine. I just want to make sure we get through everybody today, but certainly put your questions in the chat or we'll get to them at towards the end. Thanks, David. All right. I'm going to go through some of the legislative requests now. So Inspire Washington, we work with a lot of different statewide partners in the arts, heritage, and science field, as well as economic development. Not all of these folks are here today, but we do have quite a few, and I'm really excited to spotlight them and their work. So I think we're starting with ArtsWA. Michael.
Thank you, Jesse. Thank you, Inspire Washington, for hosting this. It's really wonderful to be in a virtual room with so many wonderful partners across the state to be able to talk about what we're trying to do this session. So I'll be quick because I know there's a lot of ground to cover here. The first thing on this list here is our customer relations management system, or a CRM. There's a bit of history to this. A few years ago, we requested and received funding for a feasibility study. That study was conducted and came back with a recommendation to get a CRM. We asked for it last year and there wasn't funding. They asked us to come back and we did, and the funding is in this time around. And anybody, if you're at an organization that has a CRM, you know how important these are, not just for maintaining good data to the right standards, but also for really strong customer service, and also for surfacing insights about the operations of your organization. So we're really thrilled. I think this will increase the efficiency of our agency and just let us tell better stories about the impact of the work that you're doing, the work that we're doing across the state. So it may not seem sexy at first glance, but this CRM is transformational. The next is about the Governor's Arts and Heritage Awards, which you may hear me call GAHA. That's the term for it on the inside. So our vision here was to really make GAHA become a sustainable and impactful program. Sustainable by having ongoing funding for it, and impactful by attaching grant awards to the recognition. So in addition to being recognized as being, for example, a young arts leader, an outstanding educator, or somebody practicing a heritage, in addition to getting the recognition and the physical award, but getting also grants to continue having that impactful work in their communities. So we're very excited to see this in the budget. It also includes a full-time employee who would be an event coordinator for this event, other events at the agency, and more events that we want to do, like Inspire Washington's getting out in the community. We want to follow that model and get out there too. And so this would allow us to start doing that more often. Next is more research. So arts and education, we have very intermittent and kind of incomplete research data about arts and education and access to arts opportunities in Washington for young people. And this request is all about filling in those gaps. Our hope was to have continuous funding. We got 1-year funding. So the plan is to do our research, to get a lot of data, do some strong storytelling, and come back and ask for ongoing funding for this so that we can determine trends, establish our baselines, and really see how we can move the needle on access to arts education for K-12 students across the state. And last on this list, there are 13 relatively major projects spread out across the entire state that are kind of above and beyond the normal budgetary operations of the agency for conservation. Just for context, there are over 5,000 pieces in the state art collection spread across the entire state. You can explore it all on ArtsWA's webpage through my public art portal. So these are 13 very specific, higher profile, higher cost conservation activities. And this is included in the governor's budget, and we're really excited. The pieces in the state art collection are not only beautifying the facilities that they're at, but they're an investment that is an investment owned by the people of Washington State. So we want to keep them healthy. We want to keep them vibrant, and keep them doing the work they do, which is to make these facilities more beautiful and make everybody's experience from one day to the next more artful. There are other requests that we had that were not included in the governor's budget. I'm going to drop a little link in chat here that anyone can visit and learn more about these requests and the other requests. I'll just touch on 2 real briefly that were not funded, but we are going to be coming back for in the next session. The first of which is to try to move to a $2 per capita funding model for the agency so that we could really support the arts organizations statewide and focus on equitable distribution of that funding. And to move in our public art program from what is currently a 0.5% of these capital project budgets for art to a full 1%, which is pretty common across the country. You can learn more about those requests, these ones listed here, on that link I dropped in chat. And if you want to get in touch with me, if you have any questions, I'll drop my email. And lastly, Karin Hannon, who is our agency's executive director, I know she wishes she could be here to see all of you and celebrate everything that you're doing. She's helping a family member with some medical stuff today and sends her best. But thank you all again. I hope to hear from you and just can't wait to see what we do this session.
Thanks, Michael. I just want to add in too that all of our partners have provided one-sheets for their requests, and you can find all of those one-sheets on our Inspiration League website on the Advocacy Resources tab. And I'll have Madeline drop the link in the chat to find that. So you can learn more about each of these individual requests on our website. All right, next up is Julie from Humanities Washington.
Hello, everyone, and happy Friday. Great to see all of you, and including several familiar faces. So thank you for being here today. I'd also like to thank everyone so much for your support and teamwork during the 2023 session. We received $700,000 in sustaining support for our Primetime Family Reading Program that session, and also $150,000 for our Popular Speakers Bureau program. This supplemental budget session, we're asking the legislature to fund the balance of what we requested in 2023 because the need is still there. In fact, the need has only increased for these programs. For our Speakers Bureau program, which is a roster of 40 plus cultural experts that we audition and vet and train to go out and work with public audiences, we'd like to provide additional presentations. We just introduced a new roster January 1st. And I can say that 5 days into 2024, we have allocated almost all of our funding for these presenters to come out and speak to local communities. So the demand is there, it is intense, and we'd love to be able to say yes to many more requests from your organizations and others across the state. Just to give you a sense for what these speakers are talking about, in the coming year, we are responding to requests for information from the communities that we serve. People are asking for information on topics related to racial and cultural equity, technology, identity, and community. And some of the specific Speakers Bureau topics this go round include tribal rights, tribal culture, anti-Semitism, Black women in the civil rights era, AI, homelessness, democracy, and politics. So all really important issues that people are clamoring for more reasonable, fact-based information on so they can make informed decisions. And we'd really like to be able to deliver that to them. We are also seeking some additional funding for our Primetime Family Reading Program, which takes children's literature and the literary arts and builds literacy skills in 3rd and 4th graders. It's available in English and Spanish, and it shows amazing results in improving reading skills with kids for which no other intervention has worked at the classroom level. It also really, really improves family dynamics and connection around reading. Like Speakers Bureau, our available funds are already spoken for, and we have libraries that are really clamoring to host the program. The $300,000 we're requesting would fund an additional 30 presentations. So happy to take questions at the end, I think Jesse suggested, and I'll put my email address in the chat should anyone have any follow-up questions or want more information. Again, thank you for your partnership and looking forward to supporting my fellow presenters' requests as well. So thanks.
Thanks, Julie. All right, Jennifer, are you here from Washington State Historical Society?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah.
Hi, Jennifer.
Hi. Well, thank you, first of all, to all of the partners for Arts and Heritage who are here today to learn more about what we're doing as we go into the session. What you see on the screen here for the State Historical Society is in the governor's budget. We're supporting the governor's budget, obviously. The main topic this year, as we talk to legislators, is going to be about America 250, or the semi-quincentennial of the United States, which we're celebrating in 2026. And so we've requested funding to ensure that we can really support this commemoration statewide through planning efforts. We are the agency who's leading that commemoration effort, chaired by the Lieutenant Governor. We have a committee of folks from across state government who are working on this, as well as several working groups who have been working for the last several months to come up with ideas and plans for this commemoration. But this funding would support specifically a staff person to lead the commemoration activities. and as well to provide a lot of really great materials for all of our partners statewide, including a marketing and logo package that folks can use to implement 250 programs in their local communities, program ideas, program sort of one sheets for folks to be able to develop programming in their own communities, a panel exhibit, as well as curriculum overlays so that we can support civics and history education in our schools as part of the 2026 commemoration. So that's the significant item that we're going to be pushing forward so that we can really bring the 250th to the forefront here in Washington State. As part of that commemoration, WSHS is focusing on our collections. We feel that it's really the most democratizing thing that we can do is to bring our collections to the public to make them fully accessible. So what we need to do is to have significant processing of archival collections, in particular processing, cataloging, so that the public knows what we're holding and can use those historical resources for their own research. And so this would be some temporary staffing to come in and do some really massive archiving work here at the State Historical Society. And then the last item, which is not on the screen, is just some truing up of some salaries and things like that here at the Society that the governor is also supporting, which just helps us to provide competitive wages and things like that to attract and retain our staff. So we are all in on the governor's budget, and we are all in on America 250, and happy to answer questions at the end.
Thanks, Jennifer. Oh, I want to put in a plug. I don't think we have anyone from the Eastern Washington Historical Society today, but I just wanted to make sure that we all were aware of their unique request this year. They have a really special opportunity to inherit some artwork from a very prominent Spokane artist. So they're requesting some funding to bring that broad collection into their museum over at the MAC in Spokane. So we'll be adding this to our cultural agenda as well, and are excited to support them in acquiring these important collections of Washington history. Washington Trust for Historic Preservation, Chris Moore, you are up next.
Thank you so much, Jesse. I really appreciate being here, and welcome to all of those working in the heritage and cultural sector on behalf of our collective enhancement and support. So really happy to be here. We do not have a specific request as the Washington Trust. Obviously, in our work as a statewide nonprofit organization dedicated to historic and cultural resources, the requests of many of our partners that you're hearing from today will certainly be things that we are supporting. But I think without any kind of a specific request organizationally, it's still really important, and you've heard it earlier, really important to thank our legislators this session as well. It was discussed how I think how relatively well the cultural sector did for the 23-25 biennium from a funding standpoint overall. And as we're talking about those requests and priorities in this supplemental year, let's not forget about that 2-year budget passed last session that really has worked to improve and enhance a lot of programs. And I'll just mention a few of them by name that we are particularly involved in. First, through the Department of Archaeology and Historic Preservation, there was nearly $5.2 million in new appropriations in this biennium for 4 really important grant programs that preserve historic resources specific to county courthouses, to historic barns, historic cemeteries, and to historic theaters, which had its that was just the second round of funding for that program. I'm thrilled to announce that just this week, notification is going out to 23 barn owners about grants received in this biennium, and committees will be looking at awarding grants for both historic cemeteries and historic theaters next week as we have reviewed and received applications for those programs. So that came out of the 23-25 budget. Of course, the Washington State Historical Society, you just heard from Jennifer earlier, but their Heritage Capital Projects program is one that is key for funding historic preservation work across the state. We're so thrilled that that was fully funded at $10 million. There are close to 30 projects, I believe, that are being funded through that. It's something we always support. And good note for all those of you on the phone right now, the Historical Society will, I believe, in February, open up applications for their 25-27 biennium. It's hard to skip past the 24 session, but it is important to be thinking about the fact that those programs and projects will be getting lined up even for next year's session. So really great to see that. One thing that did not make it into the governor's budget that is an important priority for us, the Department of Archaeology and Historic Preservation is sort of the state's data holder, if you will, for unreinforced masonry buildings throughout the state. And of course, unreinforced masonry buildings are by nature historic in that they're clearly over 50 years old, some much older than that. But they also comprise some of our greatest historic resources in our downtowns. Those downtown corridors from, in our cities all over the state, whether they're small or large, have these incredible unreinforced masonry buildings, all of which are subject, of course, to damage and even more importantly, the physical safety of residents in a large seismic event. So the idea of having a historic architect that is specifically in place to work with a multi-agency unreinforced masonry work group did not make it into the governor's budget. I know the agency is looking at requesting that again in the next session, but we certainly want to make it known that this is a priority for the preservation community across the state as well, and we'll be raising awareness about that continued need. It certainly impacts all of us as we think about climate change and sustainability issues in the heritage world. We also need to think about that resiliency as well from a seismic standpoint. So again, thanks to everybody for being here. Really looking forward to this session, to continuing the great work that Inspire Washington has been doing over the last several years and working with all of our colleagues here. It's always just a great collaboration and great effort that goes toward this. So thank you.
Wonderful. Thanks, Chris. Let's see. We're next at Washington Museum Association. Brad, are you with us?
I am, yeah. Thank you, everyone, today for all getting together. And we want to thank Inspire Washington and all of our cultural advocates for supporting us. We kind of got into the game with legislation thanks to the support from Inspire Washington. And it was really critical in getting the years 2 and 3 of our Museums Connect project. And if you're not familiar with that, basically it's been a statewide survey that we've conducted to create a directory of museums across Washington state. And what it really has done is started relationships, created connections, and a lot of the groups that have been involved have gotten really excited. And we've also been working with the regional associations to connect with them, and that is starting to now filter down to their organizations. And we've been working with the State Historical Society. We want to thank them for their support with that project and working very closely to make it something that is going to be really impactful for our state. And as you know, organizations are looking for resources, information, education, this project's going to really allow that. And we're just very grateful for the support of everyone to make that happen. We do not have any specific legislative asks this time around. We decided to take a little break because we wanted to focus on our Museums Connect project and get all of that working. We are looking forward to 25 through 26, including potential operating grants, working on heritage capital expansion and improvements, and also reassessing some document fees, funding and resources that might be available for organizations across the state. And other than that, we're also looking forward to Arts and Heritage and Science Week. And we're partnering with the State Historical Society to host a reception and some workshops on February 6th. So if anyone can join us in Olympia, we'd love to see you there. And yeah, we're excited to support all of these amazing initiatives that everyone is doing for this session. And yeah, thank you for being here.
Awesome. Thanks, Brad. I'm excited to come to your workshops on February 6th. All right, Department of Commerce. Shannon, are you here, or Josh? No? Okay. I will briefly walk through this. The Department of Commerce is really excited to put together a request about the video game industry. They've done a lot of research and have discovered that we as Washington State is quite a hub for the video game industry. And the video game industry houses a lot of creatives and artists and workers within the creative economy. So they are putting a request forward for $200,000 to do a video game industry study so that they can further support these workers and artists. You can read a little bit about it here, but along the lines of kind of the way ArtsWA did their CRM study, or how other agencies do studies so that they can figure out how best to move forward with a certain topic. That's kind of along the lines of what they're looking to do this next year. So we're excited to support that request and hope that that comes through. Washington Filmworks, Amy Lillard, are you here still?
I am here, and
Hi,
I
Amy.
love being here. I just appreciate you so much bringing everyone together to have one conversation. For those that might know very much about Washington Filmworks, we talk about the creative economy of being the arts and culture sector and the for-profit, creative businesses as well. Washington Filmworks and our partner organization, WhipSmart, really focuses on that for-profit side. For those of you that have been following along, Washington Filmworks had a gigantic win in 2022, taking our funding to $15 million a year, which was such a huge win after so many years. So we have been very, very busy implementing all these wonderful new programs that were included in the law, including a new program to support small budget filmmakers in Washington State, that first or second project. We had 78 applications, 17 of those got approved, and 4 have either finished production or are about to go into production. So huge success there. We also launched our Above the Line program, which is focused on underrepresented communities. That Above the Line program is about giving producers and directors all the tools they need in their toolbox to make a film. So it's a 12-week course and education. And then those folks, those 30 people in that cohort, can apply for one of 5 mentorships. So we're excited about that program. And we will, and you all should know about this too, we are opening up another opportunity for workforce development in film starting next week. Is the 17th of January next week? I don't even know. January 17th is our goal to open up this new program where Washington Filmworks will allocate $150,000 to communities across the state who are doing workforce development for really focused on underrepresented communities, getting new people and new voices in the film industry. And our first $50,000 window is opening in the January 17th. So if that's of interest to you, please check us out on socials. However, as you can see, we do film day every day. Some of you may know that already. Just like Chris, we are in the moment of thank you so much for this wonderful, gift you have given us in terms of funding and opportunities. And so we are going to be in Olympia. The staff will be in Olympia hosting the elected officials and their aides for our signature event down there. We're going to host a lunch. Our theme this year, as you can see, are superheroes and sidekicks. We're going to have some actors who are dressed up. We're going to be doing some catered lunch and things like that. But what we really need from this group is to show up for those virtual meetings. Even, if you are not directly engaged with the film industry, we are all one creative economy. And so having different advocates from different communities, very much like Inspire Washington, we are a statewide organization. And so, we like to show up for Inspire Washington, and we hope that you'll, consider showing up to those virtual meetings with elected officials on March 7th. So we'll keep you posted via socials and things like that. But it's just such a good time for the creative economy. Yes, there's always work to do, but someone previously said, let's celebrate some wins. And, certainly I've heard a lot about that today. Always work to do, but glad to know that creative economy is really on the radar for these elected officials. So thanks for letting me be here.
Awesome. Thanks, Amy. That sounds like so much fun.
Super fun.
All right, science. This is something that I'm really excited about and to talk about with you all today. So we as Inspire Washington have been putting a lot more emphasis and time into cultivating science requests this session, and we'll be doing it even more so in the following session. So we've been partnering with some nonprofit science organizations who are actively involved in bills on their own, and then we will be jumping on the bandwagon and supporting them as well. There will be some more that are dropping, but one that has already dropped as a pre-filed bill is Senate Bill 5972, which is all about pesticides and pollinators. So it's about making sure that the pesticides that are out on the market for regular everyday homemakers do not affect the pollinators of our state. So there's more details to that. I'm still kind of going through all the nitty-gritties of that, but it's really important to our science partners and especially to all of us as folks who care about the environment. There's some other bills coming forward more about animal welfare that haven't dropped yet, so I'm not at a place to talk about them yet. But we're really excited to support them when they do. Another new thing that's happening, we've kind of just started talking about it, and I'm really excited to have Christian Schwartz and Derek at the aquarium to support us in this, is we are going to be creating a task force of nonprofit science education organizations to come together to create a request for the 2025 biennium. So I'll be kind of putting together this group. We'll be meeting every other month. And I'll be reaching out to a lot of you soon to join this group. Mark, I'm looking at you for this. We're really excited to kind of put together a science-specific request, funding request, other than just bills, which is usually what science ends up being for us. But we want some money. We want to flow some funds into nonprofit science education. So really excited about that. Please reach out to me if you have more ideas or if you want to get involved in this little group we're putting together. Again, in the hope of working throughout this calendar year and then having a request for the 2025 biennium. So that is what's coming down the pike for science. All right, that is all of the requests that are coming through from our agencies this year. It's still early. The session starts next week, so more things could get added. Another great way to stay in touch with the new things that happen is to attend the Heritage Caucus that happens every Wednesday mornings at 7 a.m. I know it's early, but I love to attend the Heritage Caucus in my PJs with my coffee cup, so you can too. It's virtual. Madeline will drop the link in the chat so you can sign up for that as well. Micah Wallenfels provides a really great overview of the bills that are of interest to all of us every week. That's a great way to just stay in the loop of what's going on. Then you get to hear these great presentations about amazing things that are happening throughout the state. So highly encourage folks to join that. Anyone can, it's public. Yes. Okay, and now I'm going to turn it over to Madeline to talk about your role as advocates in the legislative session. Madeline.
Awesome. Thanks, Jessie. Hi, everyone. My name is Madeline Dalton. I am the outreach coordinator here at Inspire Washington. And that means that every winter it is my job to herd all of you, get you all in one place, and help you disperse to go talk to your legislators, which is a really, really key part of what we do. It's really setting the groundwork for the entire year ahead. And we're all about sustaining and creating relationships with lawmakers so that the future of culture looks really bright. Next slide, please. Thank you. So obviously, I think we all kind of understand that advocacy is important, but here are some really concrete reasons why. These first 2 points about you being an insider and you being boots on the ground are twofold. One is that you are an insider bringing them knowledge about what is going on in the cultural sector. You are the boots on the ground of the cultural sector and you're bringing that to them. But also you get to be an insider in the government space too when you're an advocate. You get to hear what's going on when you meet with these lawmakers. You get to maybe be the first person in your world, in your community, to know about an upcoming bill or an upcoming opportunity and create a partnership with your lawmaker. So it's twofold. And I think those are both really exciting reasons why you should get in there. The other thing that you get to do is that you get to tell your lawmaker how to vote. This is representative government, especially when we get on these local levels. The lawmakers really want to vote for what their constituents want. That's why they're taking these meetings with you. They want to make sure that they are serving their community as best they can. And they're only one person. They have so much going on. And so they rely on their constituents who come and meet with them to tell them stories about what's happening and why they need to vote the way that they do. Next slide, thanks. So what can you do today? The first one is you can identify which district you live in and who represents you. I'm going to drop a link to the legislative district finder for our state in the chat so that you can figure out which district you're in. Arts, Heritage, and Science Week is all about our state legislative districts. So when you put your address in here, you're going to get both your congressional district and your state legislative district. We do federal advocacy. We'll probably have more information about that later this year. But for right now, we're just talking about state. So ignore your congressional district number. Come back to that later. We just want to know which district you are in on the state level. Now, once you've done that, the next thing you can do is feel more empowered to go meet with your lawmaker and get involved. The easiest way that you can get involved, it only takes 2 clicks, a couple minutes of your time, is to join the Inspiration League and recruit 5 other people to join the Inspiration League. So if you're not sure what the Inspiration League is, we will tell you in a later slide. I will put the link in the chat right now so that you can join. The Inspiration League is our online organizing platform. We send you action alerts about things that are coming up. So, for example, in the legislative session, if there is a bill coming up that we really need your lawmaker to support, we will send an action alert. And if you have a lawmaker who either hasn't indicated how they're going to vote, or they're the chair of a committee or something, we can target that action alert to go to you specifically, because we can target it by district, by address, all those fun things. So then you can send a quick email to your lawmaker. We write the template, we do all the hard work. Of course, we encourage you to add more to it, but you can just write one extra sentence and hit send, and that's it, you're done. And we know for a fact that these are really effective. We hear from legislative aides and lawmakers themselves how incredibly important this is, and that issues that maybe they weren't super aware of became top priorities for them because of Inspiration League messages. So hugely important. Please sign up and tell your friends. The next thing you can do is to sign up to advocate during Arts, Heritage, and Science Week, which is February 5th through 9th this year. This is a week-long virtual event with an in-person day on February 7th. The way that this works is that every single legislative district has its own team. So we have 49 different teams. You'll sign up to be on a team, and then your team will meet with your 2 state representatives and your 1 state senator. Each meeting is 15 minutes long, and you'll just give them a really quick rundown of all the things that we're advocating for. Share a really personal story about what matters to you, what you want them to accomplish during the legislative session, and then we do more follow-up work after the session is over. It's a really great time. So many advocates come out to Olympia. It's really energizing. You get to meet people in your district, people outside of your district, people from Spokane get to meet people from the peninsula. Lots of fun networking, and also a really exciting thing to be able to meet with your lawmaker in the state capitol. So I highly recommend that you advocate with us. If you're not able to come to Olympia for whatever reason, that is totally okay. We do take virtual meetings. That's still relatively common. Even not for like COVID or weather reasons, but just because sometimes they're really busy and all they have time for is to meet with you online. So that is the link to sign up for Arts, Heritage, and Science Week. We definitely need a lot more advocates, so please sign up. If you want to take that a step further, you can serve in a leadership position and be a district leader. So as of now, because we were so busy with doors open, we weren't able to get as many district leaders on our roster as early as we did last year. So we're looking for lots of leaders. So we'd love to have you, if you feel inclined, to schedule meetings with lawmakers and corral your team, help them craft their strategy so they can go into their meetings confidently. I'm going to read off slowly so that you can all clock them the district numbers of all the places where we do have leaders. So if you hear the number of your district, that means we're covered. If you don't hear the number of your district, that means we need you, and you can email me to tell me that you want to be a district leader, and I'll get you all set up. So we have leaders for districts 3, 4, 6, 9, 10, 11, 13, 15, 16, 27, 30, 34, 36, 43, and 47. So if you didn't hear your district number, we still need you. Please come on out and join us as a district leader. Also, if you did hear your district number and you're in Seattle only, we would love to have co-captains. So if you are interested and you really want to do some leadership work, we usually have really high turnout just because of population statistics in Seattle. We can always use an extra helping hand. And if you don't want to be a district leader, but you know people in some districts that are maybe harder to find advocates in sometimes, please help us recruit. Bring your friends along. The more, the merrier. Amanda, I will share the list of districts when I am done presenting so that I am not multitasking, but yes, I will do that. Oh, yes, Deborah, thank you. I guess I didn't write you down on my sheet. We do have a District 33 leader. Deborah is awesome, and we're really excited to have her. Great. Okay, so now the Inspiration League. This is our online organizing platform that I talked about earlier, and Jesse's going to go to the next slide and show you what it looks like. So you will get an email in your inbox as an Inspiration League member saying what the action alert is, and you'll click, that's your first click on the link, and it will show you this page. So there will be a letter to your lawmaker, all the information, and in that message body, you can just write a couple sentences, nothing crazy, about why this matters to you. We highly recommend that you do that because it will help, one, your message not go to spam, and two, actually help your lawmaker take the time to read it. If they get all the same carbon copy, they're going to get a little sick of it. They might not see it as important. So we highly recommend that you write at least one sentence that's personal to you. You just enter your information and then you scroll down and that's your second click. You hit send. And now you've done something really important to raise awareness about whatever it is that we're advocating for. Awesome. Move to the next slide. I'm seeing some people emailing me talking about wanting to be district leader. I'm so happy to hear this. This is awesome. If you guys can all send me an email rather than putting it in the chat, I'm going to put my email address in the chat here so you can save that. Just so if I lose the chat, I don't lose you. So please email me advocacy@inspirewashington.org. Awesome. And for those of you who aren't convinced yet about being a district leader, here's why I think you will love it and you should come join us. The first reason is that you get to be a leader in your cultural community. People will look to you as being knowledgeable about policy things and also as being someone who can organize and inspire the folks in your community. You'll also get to create relationships with your lawmakers. And I think this is so, so important, especially when we're thinking about community capital projects. If that's something that you know is on the horizon either soon or well in the future, it's a really great idea to be a district leader and form that relationship with their office through scheduling, through showing up for these meetings, so that later, if you want to call them up and ask them for funding, you have a really great in. Even if you never need funding, though, it's still so important to have a relationship with your lawmaker. We want to start these now, and then we can invite them to your shows and your exhibitions later in the year so that they are really in tune with what's going on in the community and what services you provide to benefit the public. It's also just a great way to have a voice. As the leader, you will be probably setting the tone in the meeting and introducing everyone to the lawmaker before they say their own piece. So it's a great way to have your time to shine and share how you feel and what's important to you to someone who is listening and can make lasting change. And the last thing is that you will inspire your community. By serving as a district leader, you will inspire your team members, and then that will have a ripple effect that goes out into the community. They'll find more advocates. They might be inspired to be a leader later on. It all ripples out. So this is a great way to inspire other people in your community, get involved, be the boots on the ground, and hang out with other cultural workers. So here are some concrete action items for what you can do this session. Whether you join us as an advocate at AHS Week or not, here's some things that you can do to help us achieve our goals. The first one is to respond to our iAlerts on the Inspiration League. The second one is to attend AHS Week, whether that's virtual, in person, or both. 3 is to both attend and encourage your lawmakers to attend Heritage Caucus every Wednesday at 7 a.m. And the fourth one is to actually take meetings with your lawmakers. Oh, they, they went a little out of order. That's funny. No worries. The fifth one, this is a great one too, is to endorse or testify for a bill. If you go onto the advocacy resources page that I shared earlier, I'll put the link in again, and you scroll down to the bottom, we have instructions on how to do this. We will be sending emails about this as it comes up during the session, usually through the Inspiration League. Sometimes we don't, depending on the bill, but just stay on the lookout. I'm sure you'll hear about it. This is a great way to show your support. Oftentimes, when we have a bill and we get everyone together to testify, we pull record numbers of supporters, and it's really awesome to see like 200 people come sign in yes and leave positive comments. That makes a huge impression on the legislature, and it's a great way to make your voice heard. The final two are to follow from updates from us. So join our newsletter if you're not already there already. Follow our social media. Keep a tab on your email inbox just to know what's going on. And finally, share and boost to your networks. Anytime you see us post about something or you get an email, forward it to people in your community. Share it to your wall. Tell people about Inspire Washington, who we are, what we do, and how they can get involved as well.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I know we're a little over on time, but we are definitely here and would love to take questions and hear from you. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen so I can finally see all of your lovely faces. Does anyone have any questions from either Inspire Washington or any of our partners that were here today? Go ahead and raise your virtual hand, or to be honest, you can just unmute yourself and start speaking. Miranda, hi.
Hi, Miranda from Artside Washington. Good to see you. Thank you all so much for this helpful update and all the work you do leading up to this. This is really exciting. For those of us that are going to make the trip over to Olympia on February 7th, the in-person day, can you just give us an update? Where do we go to find the schedule of the day so that we know when to arrive and how late to stay, or if we should plan overnight lodging?
Yes, if you go to our Inspiration League website and you click on the events tab for Arts, Heritage, and Science Week, and Madeline can put this in the chat, at the bottom of that page is the schedule. So the first event on the 7th, the actual in-person thing starts, I think it's at 9:30 in the morning. But we're going to be streaming the Heritage Caucus at 7 a.m. and having breakfast with everybody for everybody. So you're welcome to come in at 7 a.m. in that room. And watch Heritage Caucus with us before we kick off with actual things at 9:30. And then all of the in-person meetings that district leaders will schedule, the in-person meetings will happen that day throughout the day. Usually they end around 4, and then we do a big group photo at the Capitol under the rotunda at like 4:30. So they're also previous to the 7th. On the 6th, WAMA is doing a day of advocacy and workshops. And also the night of the 6th, ArtsWA is hosting a sip and chat, which is really fun. So if you come in on the 6th and stay the night, I would highly recommend going to, WAMA also does a reception at 5 o'clock on the 6th. And then we walk over and do the ArtsWA sip and chat at 7. So lots of things to do. I recently was looking at hotels, and you can stay at the Governor's Inn for $80. The Red Lion right there. So that's where Inspire Washington will be staying when we come in. Yeah, so that's where you can find all that information. And we'll be sending out more details too as they come out. But does that answer your question, Miranda? Anything else?
Yeah, that's great. So probably looking to stay the 6th and the 7th, with most of the in-person stuff happening on the 7th. That's exciting. Yeah. I see that link too. Thank you, Madeline.
Thanks, Miranda. Excited to see you. Any other questions, folks? No?
Oh, I think I put the link to register for AHS Week in the chat. If I did, then I'll just put it again. But if I didn't,
it's on the main events page, Madeline, that you put in there. So it's there too.
Yeah. So I had a brain fart and I freaked out. I was like, oh my God, what if people don't register? So please register. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for spending your Friday afternoon with us.